But also the other side of it as well is Newcastle wanted to do the defensive side of the game today, particularly in the second half. I didn't agree with this having no striker at the end. Although you've gone sort of 5-5 defensively, there's really no outball.
Let me start with you, Craig. What to make of it?
Well, I think it's still game on, isn't it? And I think that's going to make the second leg intriguing. Are Arsenal good enough to go up there and get a couple of goals, maybe 3? Absolutely on their day. But equally, Newcastle are more than capable of winning the game too. So it really has batted the ball, Newcastle, that is, into Arsenal's court. Look, Newcastle have been a form side. They had a period last year where Eddie Howe struggled with injuries. It really affected them. The European side of it as well. This year they don't have any of that. They have less injuries. They have Tonali back. They have no European football. Their big players are in form. Shaq and I were talking about Joe Linton. He's just one of many, but he's just a Trojan horse at the moment wherever he plays. Gordon's form, Jacob Murphy's form, Tonali's form since the suspension. The fact that they defended their box as well as they did as well. It's not just about the excellent performance once again of Alexander Isak up front, and that's one of the big differences between the sides, and we can get to that Newcastle have a quality front man that would walk into a lot of teams and Arsenal don't, and that's part of the big difference. But also the other side of it as well is Newcastle wanted to do the defensive side of the game today, particularly in the second half. I didn't agree with this having no striker at the end. Although you've gone sort of 5-5 defensively, there's really no outball, and so it's just coming back and coming back and coming back. But Botman and Byrne and Livramento and Lewis Hall and Dubravka and all these guys, they just defended their box like they are desperate to win a trophy, and that's as important as Alexander Isak up at the other end, getting all the headlines.
I'm sure we'll get to the point where we sing in Newcastle. I'll certainly take that opportunity to sing Newcastle's praises. But to Eddie Howe's defence, and I'm with Craig, the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, if not a little bit more, just seem to drag on from a Newcastle perspective, because you don't have that strike, you don't have that outball, but you're defending a lead. You're defending a lead, more to the point, to take back to St James's Park. So, in the words of former coach up at Newcastle, Arthur Cox, absolute legend, this is only half a loaf. So even if you were to concede at that point and kind of hand momentum back over to Arsenal, which they should have taken, it doesn't feel that bad because the second leg is still to come at St James's. That being said, there was so much about about Arsenal that surprised me. As ever, there's this threat, there's this atmosphere about Arsenal whenever they get a set piece. And that just kind of speaks to how their season has gone. Yet still, you saw opportunity after opportunity go begging. We saw Timber early on. In the second half, there were so many more that we could have pointed to. The big opportunity to Kai Havertz. And then to give up the opening goal in particular as easily as, by their standards, as they did. It just didn't feel like the Arsenal that we've seen all season long. So while you're Newcastle and you go back up to the northeast with a 2-0 win in London, it just doesn't feel as secure as maybe that scoreline suggests, because surely Arsenal are not going to fluff their lines in front of goal in that manner again anytime soon.
And Newcastle, the two centre-backs have been absolutely fantastic, where I found Saliba and Gabriel sometimes in some difficulties to cope with the situation. Isak was tremendous, especially the first half. I mean, he had 3 chances on his own, taking on one of the two centre-backs. Of course,